Welcome back to the further adventures of the monad. We have finally arrived at the main event. Our monad is about to acquire self-awareness. This is the whole point of creating a universe in the first place. It is all well and good floating around 49 planes of matter looking decorative. But what is it all leading to? It is leading to the meaning of life, which is to take an unconscious primordial atom and wake it up completely. We looked at 3 different stages of this process, starting with a potentially conscious monad, which forms a matrix of the whole universe. This monad got woken up at the second outpouring and became a slave to our thoughts and desires. It then graduated to being able to remember our thoughts and desires and even act on some of them without our consent. Now, the time has arrived when the third logos is about to blow its trumpet and our monad is on the road to self-awareness. This does not happen with the arrival of the human kingdom. It starts with the mineral kingdom, and this process has been described in some detail. What is worth remembering is how incredibly slow this process of gaining self-awareness is. If you remember back when I made a brief mention of chains, rounds, and globes, I stated we were on the 4th chain in the scheme of our planetary logos. As this mighty monad evolves, so do we. The point that needs to be highlighted is that in the first chain of this scheme, monads now found in the 4th kingdom of nature had already transferred from tertiary matter to quaternary matter. This transfer occurred in a previous solar system. It has taken eons of time, and here I'm describing an eon as 4.3 billion years, to pass through a single chain. And we are now on our 4th chain. So, we human monads were at the initial level of our quaternary consciousness development. In the first chain, where we were passing through the mineral kingdom, whatever being in the mineral kingdom meant at that time. What I can say for certain is that it would have been nothing like being a mineral today. After about 300 billion years, yes, it takes that long, our monad moves to the next chain and continues to evolve, except this time at the plant kingdom level. This did not happen in isolation. All the lower levels of consciousness evolution are also moving along their paths. So here we are, on the 4th chain, in the 4th round, on the 4th globe. It has taken us this long to end up being a bunch of squabbling, cantankerous humans, hell-bent on destroying ourselves and the planet we live on. Is this progress? Well, in a way it is. You see, we have truly become self-aware to the point that we only see and care about ourselves. Just like teenagehood, this phase in a monad's development will eventually pass. I am not aware how the other 6 parallel streams of evolution associated with the planet go through their teenage years, but it can't be anything like us, or this planet would have gone up in smoke a long time ago. Let us now focus on the concept of self-awareness from a human perspective. How would you describe your self-awareness? You may start by feeling your body and saying you have a good indication that you are alive and warm-blooded. Yes, your organism is breathing and functioning to a greater or lesser extent. But is this organism you? I hope by now you have come to realize it is not. It is a being in its own right, and you just happen to be abusing it at present, for purposes too nefarious to mention in polite company. So, if your body is not you, what else could be? You may alight on your mind and say, like Descartes, "I think, therefore I am." If this is the case, we have just excluded a very large proportion of humanity, which do not think, they feel. Thinking is an afterthought. Let's be generous and acknowledge that some form of rudimentary thinking is occurring in most people's minds. Is this thinking them? Well, if they are aware of their thinking process, then the thought itself is not them. Something is triggering the thought, and this could be you, or is it? Think of the garbage that flows through your mind almost every second of the day. Are you really prepared to admit that is all being generated by you? I hope not. If you think back to our friends the tertiary monads, they are actively conscious, and so can, through force of habit, be contributing to the static that fills your mind. We talk about filling our mind, but we know that our brain is not where all this activity is occurring. The same goes for our seething torrents of emotions that seem to be flowing through our bodies. The real action is occurring on the emotional plane. So, where is our quaternary monad residing? For most of us, it is in the permanent atom found on the 48th plane of matter. Now, let's bring things together. Our emotional permanent atom comprises 2.8 times 10 to the 79 primary monads. These are the basic building blocks of this plane. Embedded in this matrix are a large number of tertiary monads. These are your memory cells, your subconscious mind. Last but not least, there is you, the independent quaternary monad, resplendent amid all these other monads. It is from here that you survey your domain and control proceedings. Really? Are you kidding me? Are you really in control? Can you make yourself heard over all that mental static and emotional gibberish that is occurring in your envelopes of incarnation? You are the challenge. We see ourselves not as who we are, but as a character that is constructed out of the attributes we have cobbled together from past incarnations. This is what constitutes our persona. This sense of self, then, has to somehow make itself heard through all the din that is going on in your envelope bodies. Is it any wonder that things do not seem to go quite how we would wish them to? We have gone through this diversion so that we can understand that a quaternary monad may be self-activating, especially when it reaches the fourth kingdom of nature, but it is totally beholden to vast numbers of less conscious monads that make up the bodies of who we think we are. Some of these monads, especially those with passive consciousness called secondary matter, are involving, and so have very different objectives to tertiary and quaternary monads. Things do get better eventually, and a quaternary monad passes out of the fourth kingdom of nature and enters the fifth kingdom. The three lower levels of monadic consciousness were about waking up and becoming active. The fourth step through the fourth kingdom of nature has been about self-awareness. Our evolution has finished. What, I hear you say? Does that mean we can go home now? I said our evolution had finished. The next step we take is called expansion. The next game in town is to expand our consciousness. This does not involve increasing the size of our magnetic field as much as it involves merging our consciousness with like-minded monads around us. This is the future path of all of us, and it cannot come soon enough. For less than 1 in a million, it has already arrived. For about 1 in a million, it is the next step on the ladder. For the rest of us, it is going to take some considerable time. But if you remember the laws of development, we have no choice but to inexorably move our game forward. Our monad has come a long way, but it has only climbed the 4th rung of a 49-rung ladder. Every step on this ladder will be achieved as a quaternary monad, There are no more trumpets or any outpourings. There is only an exponential increase in our omniscience and omnipotence. Sounds impressive, but we still have a lot of work to do to just migrate our monad from the emotional permanent atom through the mental permanent molecule to the causal permanent atom. Onwards and upwards. See you in the next presentation. Thank you.